A very good evening to everyone. My name is Sejal Datani and I'll be your host for the day. Thank you everyone for making the time and joining us today for this session on the rise of citizen development where non-developers become developers. So this is the third installment in our virtual roundtable series called Tech Table Talks, which we initiated a couple of weeks back. In this series, we mostly discuss about how technology can accelerate digital transformation in today's world. So before we start this discussion, few quick things that I want to inform all of you. All the attendees who are joining us today will be on mute. Although, if you have any questions, you can ask them using the questions tab. And we have allocated 15 minutes at the end of the session for your questions, and our speakers will address all the questions then. So feel free to ask the questions using the question tab. We'd like to keep this panel discussion interactive one, and the slides that you see on the screen would help you to gain a context of the discussion. Feel free to participate in the polls. In between the session, there are a couple of polls that will be popping up, and you can vote based on your choice. And finally, there's also a customer case study which we have attached as an handout, which is available to all of you. It is about a firm called Aboitis based in Philippines who has used citizen development in their organization and increase their productivity quite well. So what will we be discussing today? So citizen development is an upcoming trend where companies encourage all their employees or business users with limited technical know-how to build apps for their needs, anything it can be. So today we'll discuss how organization can leverage this trend to adapt to the current economic uncertainty. So before I jump into the session or begin the session, let me quickly introduce to you our panelists for the day. Firstly, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Sam Matthew, Software Solutions Manager at Leminar Global, which is a part of Al-Sharawi Group, the largest HVAC distribution company in the Middle East region. Thank you, Sam, for joining us today. You have been with the Leminar Group for more than 3 years now. Could you tell us a little bit about Leminar Global and what is your role there? What do you do?
Hi, Sejal. Thank you for having me here today as a panelist at this virtual roundtable. So, as my title says, I'm a software solutions manager. So, I handle delivery of software solutions for the Al-Sharawi Engineering Services Group. Leminar Global being one of the largest members of that group, and we are a group of 12 companies operating in the Middle East region. And Leminar represents over 15 brands, and we have won several industry awards. Being at Leminar, we strive for superior customer service experience and on-time delivery of products and services. So specifically, my role is about blueprinting solutions, platform selection, making sure that the user requirements are met through testing and documentation. We tend to do most of our projects internally and sometimes with the help of external partners.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. We are happy to have you today for this discussion. Next, we have Mr. Ali Shabdar, Regional Director for Middle East and Africa at Zoho Corporation. He is a multidisciplinary business technologist and also has authored quite some books around technology. Welcome to the panel, Ali.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Ali, your journey with Zoho is a very interesting one. Can you share your story with us? Can you shed light on that?
Sure. Well, the story goes back to 2008. I won't bore you with details, but back then I was working for a private company in Dubai, and we needed some solutions, and we were facing some problems with the existing systems. I was the marketing manager, but of course I had some IT background, and I was Googling for a solution, and I found something called Zoho. Mind you, back then, even Google was not a thing. This is 2008 we're talking about. A lot has changed. And I found Zoho. We installed it and we started using it in production. The team used what I built for them for more than a year, probably 2 years. And I became a fan. I became a huge fan of the platform. Of course, back then, also cloud computing, software as a service, these were just novelties, concepts that were not well known. And I had this childhood dream of writing a book. Well, people dream of going to the moon, and I just dream about writing a book. So, and these two coincided because I became a huge fan of Zoho. I thought, okay, let's talk about SaaS and cloud in the context of Zoho. And I got in touch with a few people in Zoho Corporation to vet what I'm writing about. And I got to know a few people. So this relationship kind of died down until 2017 when I was traveling the world doing other things in between. By the way, I became a Zoho consultant on a part-time basis. It was a good side income, providing Zoho-based solutions and consultation. So in 2017, I thought, okay, it's time to renew that book. Usually tech books, they have a shelf life of 1 year, not more. And I got in touch again with Zoho, and which until the day it published I was talking with one of the senior members of Zoho, Raju Vegesna, the chief evangelist, and asked them if they have any plans to expand their operation in the Middle East. And he said, interesting that you ask. We're opening an office. Do you want to help us? And I was like, yeah, I mean, of course, why not? So what I thought was just an arm's length relationship with Zoho, probably part-time from time to time, just speaking about it. It turned into a full-time opportunity, and it's been a great 2 years. Yeah.
That's great to hear, Ali. And we are happy that you have joined Zoho and you're here. So before we go into the main discussion, I have a quick poll for the audience just to know who we have here today who has joined us. So quickly, everyone will see a poll on your screen. Please do vote with this poll. So which business function do you belong to? Are you all part of IT, or are you all totally not an IT person? You're from marketing or any other business function, or are you a mix of both? Like you have a tech background and you are heading a team. So I'll give a couple of seconds here for everyone to vote. Okay. I hope everybody has voted. Oh, we're glad we have a mixed audience today, almost like a 50-50. Many of you are from IT and many of you are from non-IT. We hope this session would be useful to you all in different aspects. Let's move on. So as we all know, the coronavirus pandemic has created challenges in every aspect of business that we couldn't have imagined, like, say, a few months back. So, Ali, my first question to you is that you speak to customers on a daily basis. How has that conversation changed in the last 60 days? What are their immediate priorities or needs?
A lot has changed. It's unbelievable how we are living in a new reality now. And it was just 2 months ago that we were planning for 2020, or 3 months ago, basically, being a better year. What is happening is that, of course, businesses are feeling a lot of pressure. One is the whole working remotely and working from home, and the lockdowns that are happening in a lot of cities. Here in Dubai, we had total lockdown for two weeks, and people were not allowed to go out. And now we are in partial lockdown. So these impact the business operations across the board. Doesn't matter in which function you are, you're either directly or indirectly impacted. When the processes and operations are impacted, it means that a lot of things that were correct back then, or were, you would consider them, bulletproof processes, are not working anymore, partly or completely. That causes businesses to reprioritize and re-strategize in a much faster speed. Of course, businesses who are more pen and paper based, dependent on older ways of doing things are impacted more. Businesses who are into more logistical, operational areas, they're impacted even more. And on the other side, those who embrace technology sooner and implemented solutions that automates, some mundane processes. I give you an example, like wet signatures versus digital signatures. Something that was a novelty 3-4 months ago, now it's a must. And all of these realities, and the fact that we're going to go back into a society, into a business dynamic that is completely different than last year, all of this impacts the conversations we have. We can see very clearly that businesses are focused on digitalization in any shape or form, in any scale, depending on the size and operation of those businesses. And also they are resuming or speeding up their digital transformation journeys.
Thank you, Ali. Sam, from your perspective, I would like to know, how has the current situation impacted your organization or your business? How did you go around responding to these demands of digitalization?
Yeah, Sejal. So, I mean, definitely, we've also been impacted by the current crisis, and we've faced the similar challenges, just like all the other companies in this region. We did start our digitalization journey many months ago as part of our effort to modernize and give the tools in the hands of our workforce. And implementing the solution on Zoho Creator was one of such projects. Of course, these were done not keeping any crisis or situation such as this in mind. It was just done as part of modernizing the tools that we have. The impact on our business has been, our customer projects slowing down during this period, and of course, the number of inquiries and the sales, slowing down. That this has been the major impact for us. But we did not, reduce or slow down our support and follow-ups with our customers, and we made sure that the transition to a remote working model was up and running as soon as we were asked to work from home. Even today, we are partially working from home because of the government regulations. And having this centralized sales management system using Zoho Creator, our sales team can now conduct sales review meetings and update quotations wherever they are located. We have staff who were on holiday before the lockdown period, and they have actually resumed working remotely from wherever they went on holiday due to the travel restrictions. Keeping in mind that the platform itself is capable and easy to maintain, we actually launched 2 additional products in Leminar's portfolio during this period, and we updated the application in a matter of days. So we have not actually felt a slowdown in the way we work, but of course our customers have felt that in terms of their projects. But our support and follow-up with them has been consistent, and that's something that we are proud of at Leminar.
Thank you, Sam. We are glad that during these difficult times, the Zoho platform and the different Zoho tools has been useful to you. Yes, definitely. All businesses around the world has suddenly had to adapt to remote working. In fact, just last week we had a discussion on EdTech where Mr. Simon Whitebridge from RCSI University of Ireland, he as well mentioned that they suddenly had to adapt to distance learning, which wasn't a priority for them at the beginning of the year. And they've been using Zoho as well to do the same. So, Ali, I would like to know, do you see any specific business function getting impacted due to remote working? And to cater to this new style of working, what do you think are the tools and technologies business should actually capitalize or invest in?
Sure. Of course, I would say every single business function and unit is directly or indirectly impacted by the new situation, some more than others. I would say if I want to divide businesses into 2 very loosely, generic groups, businesses who are disrupted. If someone's business was based on door-to-door sales, the business itself might have been disrupted massively. But if as Sam mentioned, they're just moving from office or field back, to remote work or working from home. This is an impact, and more or less in different scenarios. Now, one first thing to immediately embrace on is to use the tools that replicate the office environment in a remote situation. So if we had a meeting set up, if we had a meeting room, if people used to go to face-to-face meetings, now use virtual meeting tools, and there's no shortage of that. Of course, there are, in brackets, there are new realities introduced. It's not as easy as just use a new tool. You got to consider new realities like privacy, like security, and other factors. If your office, you have a lot of knowledge workers who collaborated next to each other, creating documents, building proposals, working on creative, ideas, and now they are distributed across the planet. Now you have to have collaboration tools and effective communication tools. And WhatsApp is not going to cut it. Email is not going to cut it. You need a collaborative environment. So office to online office, meetings around the table or brainstorming sessions into collaborative environments. So this is key to start with. This is the bare minimum. Then you look at different functions. If marketing is impacted, if a company was reliant on out-of-home billboards, elevators, and those promotional channels, now you're going to switch back, either dial down on your budget and operations or switch to digital. So do you have the tools that allows you to run digital campaigns and monitor them? Same goes for sales. Now you don't have face-to-face meetings. How do you avoid your funnel being impacted by this? The closures, negotiations, all of these. Sending a quotation to a customer, there is no wet signatures anymore, or it's very difficult. So how do you use digital signature solutions? And we can go on and on and on. Or support is actually another area for businesses who have call centers or support lines. Is another area that is impacted, mostly because there is like an influx of support requests. So these are the tools that you would need, and there are tens and if not hundreds of really good tools. But if I want to generalize it, I could say you need tools that speeds up your digital transformation. You might need new tools to automate some of the existing processes, and you might not have the technologies or the assets or the skill set to build things from scratch. So you need tools that fixes a lot of things for you without you really getting into the details. And time and resources, human resources, time and budget are now more important than ever. So you have to consider those as well when you're using these tools. Yeah.
Thank you, Ali. Thanks for the detailed answer on that, on what tools we exactly need to get accustomed to this new way of working. Sam, from your end, I would like to know, how prepared were you to shift to this remote working? And did you already have these necessary tools in place to support the smooth transition?
Sejal, so we had several collaboration tools across our group companies, including some of them which Ali mentioned, like we had G Suite, Slack, other video conferencing tools. But with this current crisis and the remote working model, I realized that digital transformation is not just about the technology and the tools, but it's more about the mindset and changing, your getting out of your comfort zone and using these tools. And even a simple thing as moving from a physical signature into a digital one itself took that mindset change, and that's what has accelerated in this crisis. So what we've seen is that although we had tools in the organization, we suddenly felt that the use of these tools has exponentially increased, and this is what has inevitably increased our digital transformation journey as well. And of course, the Zoho Creator platform that is being used by over 100 staff at Leminar, we use that now, promptly to update customer data, our quotations, and order information. And keeping in mind that Zoho Creator has been live for just over 6 months now, and in hindsight, if you look back, moving to this platform has paid back during this crisis. So we feel that we're lucky to have this platform and to be ready, even though this was an unplanned crisis.
Thank you, Sam. I agree with you. Technology is definitely the enabler, but we also need to keep our employees informed. We should ensure that they have access to all the right tools to be productive. Moving on, even before the pandemic struck us, there's always been a high demand for skilled developers in all organizations of all industries. To add to this now, there's seemingly insatiable need for new applications in different business functions. Ali, my question is, how should organizations effectively address this need of new applications?
Well, there are a few aspects to consider. Yes, technology has been in demand the past 10 years in a very exponential rate. And this affects how HR departments are hiring, or procurement departments are contracting external companies for their software. The decision needs to be made. Are we outsourcing, or are we using the internal resources? And as Sam mentioned, they are doing both, which is actually probably the equilibrium of such scenarios. Now, if you want to look at the talent issue, and it is actually even more interesting in this pandemic, that tech sector is one of the very, very few sectors that not only it's not losing its workforce, but there are more hiring than furloughs, which means that the talent remains to be a scarce resource in that. Now, because the time is on high speed, and organizations need to actually respond to the issue much faster, a hybrid situation will be great, where you hire a consultant, kickstart the project while training your internal resources. And you don't need to hire per se. If you're using a low-code platform like Zoho Creator, there's a lot of talent inside the organization who can just learn the basics, because you don't need to be a programmer for such scenarios, such platforms. And they can work hand in hand with external consultant and speed up the process and have the app up and running. That's one scenario. But of course, it's case by case. It depends on the size and requirement of each company.
Thank you, Ali. Next, quickly, we'll have a poll again before we move into the main topic of citizen developer. Does your organization take any steps to empower citizen developers? Okay. I hope everybody has voted here. And that's great to know. We see that a lot of organizations that you all belong to actually empower citizen development, which is quite useful. So, to Ali, the concept of citizen development seems to be appealing to a lot of organizations as time is going by. But turning these citizen development developers into business assets takes foresight and strategy. What are some measures businesses should take to leverage these emerging developers?
Well, I guess first everybody has to come on the same page, be on the same page. And what I mean by that is, this is not an IT decision. This is not a sales decision or CEO decision. A conversation like this is about reshuffling some resources, introducing new ideas, and creating a space for innovation. Citizen developers can be agents of change and innovation in the organization. It's not like, let's add more work to your day-to-day already, where we're already busy. So this, again, is super important for the leadership and people who are nominated to become citizen developers to sit at a virtual table now and decide what is needed right now, which areas need their help as soon as possible. Suppose, if I may use an example, if you're talking about procurement process, who better than the procurement team or procurement department to nominate someone with a little bit of technical knowledge? I mean, at least you have to be able to use a computer in an efficient way, to nominate someone or a few people to be citizen developers. So these steps are usually just HR and management decisions than just IT decisions. And IT has to be on board because you're playing in their backyard. This is a conversation that ultimately IT is the custodian of, and they will be held responsible, at least to a great extent. This is the way to start and inject that into strategy, and look at it from a perspective that this will become an asset to your company, as you just mentioned. This is not extra work. Not only it creates, and I repeat it, an environment and space for innovation, it also can contribute to the current IT systems. So it's all value to be had. You're not hiring new people. You're not dealing with the whole onboarding process. You're enabling and empowering the existing team. Of course, I mean, there are cases where this is not possible. You don't have the resources. Then that's a different story. But I would argue, based on my experience in the past few years, most organizations have people who can become these champions of innovation and change and develop applications and contribute to the IT vision in a way that really works well for the organization.
Thanks for that, Ali. Sam, how have you gone about achieving citizen development in your organization? How are you currently promoting it so that more employees are encouraged to build apps on their own for their specific business needs?
Right, Sejal. So, I mean, citizen developer is, is a new term I've just heard of recently. But I've always seen, users or business individuals can always develop their own solutions, even with a tool like a spreadsheet tool like Excel. You can develop your own macros. So, if you're really interested, you can get into this space and start building your solutions. But when it comes to broad-based platforms and a solution that can work for an entire team or a department, you need to go for a comprehensive platform. And this is where the decision making changes, because you would have multiple layers. So you would have a decision making at the top and at an IT level, and also at an operations level. So because they need to understand how the platform will work. So at Leminar, we were fortunate to have a process oriented approach to our business activities. So even a simple task as signing a document or going through an approval process, we had a process defined. And this helped us to migrate our process into a platform or a software system. We had already looked at several products in the past, and we found that a one-stop solution will not help us. We would need a bespoke solution. And like Ali mentioned, why go outside when we could look at our strengths inward and leverage the knowledge of our business team. And that's what we've done with this project, because we knew that it would take a long time to bring in, let's say, an IT team to train them on the processes and deliver a solution. So we leveraged our business team. We included them as part of the decision-making process. Our solution was catalyzed through the low-code platform of Zoho Creator. The sales managers were kept as part of the development sprints, and we took feedback from them continuously. It was easy to prototype on this platform, and after each sprint session, we could, show them the changes. So that sped up our development process. We got this project off the ground with a bare bones team. I mean, just one person. And the support of our a Zoho partner in the region also helped us to accelerate this development. And that's how we felt that citizen development can be a useful tool for organizations, because you have the strength within your company and you can develop such solutions in a short time just by leveraging the strength.
That's really interesting to know how you all went about it. Thanks for that, Sam. But no discussion about citizen developer or citizen development is complete without talking about the effects of shadow IT and in its governance. Ali, as part of your role, you enable organizations to create an ecosystem where citizen developers support IT teams so that app development is done much faster. But how do IT teams create a governance spectrum to tackle the rogue effects of shadow IT?
Well, I wouldn't call Shadow IT rogue. I think Shadow IT is like a teenager and should be nourished and be allowed to be developed. Then they're going to be great. But also they need supervision and proper parenting. So with Shadow IT, I mean, and if I may just, if someone is not familiar with what Shadow IT is, it's a relatively new term in the past, let's say decade or two, where other departments other than IT itself can use tools as simple as Excel files with macros and VBA script, or just sign up for something on the cloud, which is becoming more prominent, and solve their problems outside the scope of IT without IT knowing sometimes. And I used to work for an organization, a very large financial institution. We had this issue. And the issue was caused because IT and business didn't want to talk to each other. This is one of the biggest pain points in any large organization or every medium-sized organization. Business needs fluctuate and grow and shrink on daily basis, and IT has a very specific regiment of dealing with things, collecting requirements, and they want to take their time and consider 1 million factors, which is absolutely understandable. So there usually is a clash here. So I think we should start with finding the root cause of those clash and friction and remove that first. For the IT, I would ask them to be more open-minded and understand and appreciate that, first of all, this is something that is not a threat to IT. And with IT supervision and parenting, this could be a great opportunity. And also for the business to involve IT in what they're doing and showing to the IT that they're trying to help them, because IT is busy usually with 100,000 other things, which we take for granted in any organization. They're keeping the lights on, which is quite difficult. So coming back to the point, IT needs to define, first of all, embrace that this exists without denying it or ignoring it. Embrace and understand that Shadow IT exists. And the marketing department or sales department can go ahead and sign up for something online and put potentially confidential or dangerous information on someone else's server. So it's better we work together. We understand what they're doing, and we help them also. So management of information, governance here is the key word. Governance of information and process is quite important to be supervised by IT within their own limited resources. So again, collaboration, people talking to each other. This is outside technology, and people talking to each other, communicating is the key for the success.
Thank you, Ali. Before we move on to the next segment, let's have a quick poll, which is our last poll for today's session. So we would like to know, where are you on your low-code journey? Are you already using Zoho Creator? Yes, I'm using low-code platform, but not Zoho Creator. I've heard about low-code, but never used it. I've never heard anything about low-code. So please vote in. We can see that around 30% of the audience here are quite familiar with low-code platform, and I assume they really know the lot of advantages of low code platform. So Sam, relating to that poll, my question to you is, low code platform helps in ensuring business continuity. That is, it helps business users and the IT teams to work together and provide applications that we need at this point of time, like any important application. What are the other benefits that your business has gained after implementing a low-code platform like Zoho Creator?
So, Sejal, I mean, one of the things earlier just touched upon in the previous question was this lack of communication between the business and the IT. And someone like me, I play that role of being that interface. And I realized that although I did come from a software and IT background, I was more tuned to the business requirements, and I had to play that middleman. And all the points that Ali mentioned are completely true. The fact that IT is on a different track compared to the business, and the business needs can change over time. And this is where we need a middle approach and look at solutions and give the tools to the business team, and sometimes against the will of the IT department, to build such solutions. Again, governance is an important factor because you want to make sure that the platform is stable, sensitive data is not leaked, and all of that. And good stable platforms like Zoho Creator give you those tools in advance, and there is already protections in place so that accidents don't happen unless they are done willingly. So with a low-code platform like Zoho Creator, the benefit for us was the quick solution delivery time. I mean, this is always an issue with large software projects. So when we started our Zoho Creator journey, we didn't take it one step at a time or a small project. We actually took on a very large project. And we found that there were minimal trade-offs compared to traditional coding platforms because we were developing a bespoke solution. The nature of our business is that, I mean, our sales team, our business team already knew that they need a bespoke or a custom solution because we have tried other package platforms before. So we brought in our sales managers. They were part of the design and the development effort. It was easy to prototype and deliver the solution after each meeting. So, in short, it was the speed and the efficiency in which we could deliver the solution that made us gravitate towards a platform like Zoho Creator.
Thank you, Sam. That's wonderful to know. My next question to you again, what's in store for Leminar next? How do you see Leminar capitalizing on Zoho Creator in the next 1 year? Are there any projects in pipeline?
So, of course, now we've realized that with the current crisis and the avenues that are opening up for us. I mean, we've always been a traditional B2B business model through sales meetings, going to customer sites for visits, having a brick and mortar shop. I mean, I think the next big thing for Leminar would be to have a completely online platform or an e-commerce hub for trading our goods. I mean, mind you that our products are not consumer goods, they're business to business goods. But then we can always roll out a system, and we are confident that we can probably do that on a system like Zoho Creator. In the short term, we have an inventory management platform that we are planning to build, and also rolling out our current sales platform to other branches in the Middle East.
Okay, Sam. Thank you. Ali, one last question to you before we jump into Q&A. How do you see app development evolving with all that is happening around us? What does future hold app development?
I'd say future is now. It's quite interesting. These technologies has existed for the past decade. They're improving. What Zoho Creator was 10 years ago and what it is now is incomparable. And as well as other platforms that are available in both areas. Not only low-code platforms are becoming a norm in the enterprise, in larger organizations, but also they are becoming very valuable in environments that we're not really familiar with these before. I'll give you an example. Startups who are working on MVCs, minimum viable products. You could have scenarios where if you want to test your idea, you could sit and code from scratch for the next 3 months or make it 10 times faster. And this, by the way, 10 times faster, we have tested this. Tools like Creator are up to 10 times faster in developing apps compared to traditional methods. We compared Creator with Node.js and with PHP, and it was up to 10 times faster to develop, and you had less bugs, less maintenance, less issues to deal with. So imagine if you're you're against the time, which startups or any company with limited budget or any wise company would be. You're against the time. You have to deliver as fast as possible. And you know that low-code platform is capable of delivering what you need. You can do it much faster with less complexities and focus on the process than fixing your code. We have a mixed audience today. I think 30% come from IT background. Just imagine when you miss typing one semicolon in 20,000 lines of code and how many days it could take to find that bug. We don't have this in low code. Looking at some of the more prominent organizations, Forrester, Gartner, they believe that by the end of 2022, we'll have like 70% of enterprise applications be developed fully or partially on low code. So this is what the development is, that an entity as small as a startup, a one man or one woman show can use low code and churn out an MVC and get where they want to go. And an enterprise, a university, an airline, an organization of 10,000 people can use it also to solve their day-to-day problems and build mission critical applications. So the sky's the limit right now.
Totally. I agree with you on that about sky is the limit with low code platforms. Thank you, Ali. We have around 15 minutes left for the session, and let's quickly move to Q&A. We have a lot of questions coming in, and we have an interesting question here. And Ali, this is to you. Have any of Zoho's own apps been created on Zoho Creator?
This is a great question. And every time I speak about Zoho Creator in any of the Zoholics, at least one person asks this question. I'm sorry to disappoint. As far as I know, none of our official apps that, is a part of Zoho One and the big platform are made in Zoho Creator. We have a lot of apps internally. Our organization, Zoho, organization of 8,000 people, we each department uses probably tens of different creator-based apps. But if you're talking about Zoho CRM, Zoho Campaign, Zoho People, no, these are built on another platform. And there is a reason for that. To be able to build solutions, you have to be polyglot. This is a term, a polyglot developer. You need to know your tools. You cannot just be one armor. You cannot just have one sword and fight everything from primates to aliens. You need to have your tools. But a low-code platform like Zoho Creator, you need to also know that because it will save you a lot of time. One quick example. This goes back to probably 8 or 9 years ago. I was not a Zoho employee back then, and I was acting as a consultant to a Zoho partner in Canada. And they were doing a configuration with CRM that would connect to a very large database in US with 1 million records. And it had to be it had to load the data, populate it, and push it to CRM. And there was some logic involved. So we had a choice of writing a code in the middle from scratch that processes that data, loads that information, and then push it to CRM. Or because I knew Zoho Creator, I did it in Zoho Creator and used the features that were available to me. And I wrote probably 30 lines of code. And any other from scratch solution would have been thousands of lines of codes. Of course, I spent 5 hours instead of 50 hours or 100 hours, and I made more money. So knowing what to use where is very important. If you want to design a game, do not use Zoho Creator. And I mean 3D game. You can build simple games. But if you want to use Zoho Creator as a backend of a game, do use it. And build your mobile app with something, with core audio, core video, and then probably use Zoho Creator as we can talk about this for hours. This is an interesting topic, but probably that was a very long answer to short.
Thank you, Ali. We have one more question. Sam, this is for you. I had to take a business call and missed on citizen developer part. Do you have stats on this kind of empowerment? How long did it take for non-IT folks in your organization to become comfortable with a low-code platform like Creator, specifically in terms of implementing business logic?
Okay, so in terms of non-IT folks and IT folks, I think the relevance, the idea that we propagated when we were looking at our solution was more of the business team knew their requirements and they sat closely with our software team and gave them the specific instructions. Now, obviously, we are business managers or salespeople were not sitting and writing the code because they had other day-to-day activities. But the key thing was that every time we would develop a function or a module in the platform, we would have a quick half an hour, 1 hour meeting with the same sales team and understand what changed and what was their actual requirement, or did we meet that requirement. So over time, we realized that they were actually understanding more about the low code as we kept discussing it with them. So in a month or so, we realized that they were familiar with the terms that we were talking about. They knew what an exception is. They knew what a button action is. So these kind of things was easy to explain to them after a while. So over time, so we found that the transition will be slow initially. You need to have non-IT folks who are interested to spend time with you and understand that, and they should have an aptitude. Of course, not everyone is capable of that. Then when you have this sort of initiative in your company, then you would find that developing solutions and using this platform is easier. And this is something that's not been done before. So obviously you understand that we're opening up avenues here which was not there earlier, and we could have this discussion with business teams.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Ali, we have an interesting question here related to the current scenario of pandemic. Question is, the primary concern for most companies right now is survival and to ensure business continuity. How do you think these companies should prioritize their spending? What will be the immediate motivation?
Sure, I'll answer it from the perspective of this conversation within the context of today's conversation. Again, I think everybody in the team, the leadership especially, needs to quickly meet and review what's happening, what are the areas of impact, and can anything be salvaged or improved with automation, signatures, for example, or find out what are the areas that were manual and can be automated right now. That will save some costs and some time. Also, if there are software today installed and there are more cost-effective alternatives, is it feasible to switch or not? I mean, it might not be feasible at all, but again, this case it differs from business to business. Automation in general, on paper at least, should increase revenue, increase productivity, and ultimately revenue, and also save on some costs. But this needs to be done immediately. I appreciate that the situation is kind of in the emergency. Everybody's in the emergency mode. We may not have time or not be in the mood to go back, drawing board and start improving processes, but it is needed. I think this is the perfect time to pivot or revisit some of the things that we were doing and come out of this problem much cleaner and much leaner. Again, the person who asked this question, I would be happy to get in more detail with them if they're interested and understand their current situation and see if we can make some practical recommendations.
Thank you, Ali. That will be really great if you can help discuss this in detail. My next question again is to Sam. The question that we have here is, how do companies prefer to handle incentivizing citizen developers?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question because this is something that we had looked at as well internally, because we found that although a salesperson or somebody who's been hired for that non-IT role eventually takes on these responsibilities because they've shown aptitude or interest in that function. Again, the HR team and the executives need to be on board with the idea of, let's say, a career progression for these individuals. And it could mean that they are, going to move away slightly from their business function and into a software or a support function. So this is important that in the short term, it may not be easy to incentivize business executives to take on this role, because they might be doing it purely out of interest, or the company has given them, let's say, an interesting project to work on. But over time, if the organization feels that their contribution is valuable, then definitely it should be considered in terms of giving them some benefits and maybe additional training courses or attending training seminars such as these, so that they can fine tune their skills. And this is very important, that now this person who's now doing this new role needs to move out of their current circle and enter into a different circle. So they're sort of translating the business requirements into software or IT, and this is definitely a new role, and it's a career progression for them.
Thank you, Sam. We have a couple of minutes left, and we have another interesting question. Ali, can you take that?
Sure.
The question is, for a person with zero coding expertise, how long would it take for him or her to get used to a low-code platform like Creator?
It is a great question. If you are able to use any Office tools, Microsoft Office, G Suite, Zoho Office, building, creating documents and spreadsheets and stuff, which means that you're an average computer user, you can for sure start working and developing apps in Creator. What you need to start with is not a technical skill. It's more of a business skill. What Sam just mentioned, talking about business requirements, understanding the process. And if you're coming from a particular business unit, you know exactly what's going on day-to-day basis in your own unit. I'll use the procurement example again. If you're from the procurement department, you know how an entire end-to-end process happens. Which paperwork is needed, what information needs to be collected, who's going to sign what, and how the document will be archived, and whatever we need will be bought and procured. So you know this as a procurement officer or whoever works in that department. Translating it into a Word document, just a step by step, and this happens, a process, an algorithm, a flow chart, whatever you want to call it. It could just be in English, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then wherever you're collecting information, there's a form to collect information. Wherever you're showing information, there's a report to show information. And all of these are a drag and a drop. I create small apps here and there from time to time for personal use or, departmental use or just for fun. And I barely write any code. All I need is just to understand what I'm trying to achieve. If in our audience today, we have people who have used Zoho Forms or Google Forms before, you can just pick it up in a matter of hours. And this is not an underestimation of effort. Now, to take it to the next level, if you want to build apps to run a hospital, which we did actually in India, or I believe SpiceJet is a client, Tesla in some departments are using a Creator by the business analysts. Leminar is using it. If you're a large company, your requirements are more complex. That's next level. But if you want to get started and build a simple app that manages bookings for your dentist office, you can do it in a couple of days if you spend enough time on that. So you do not need that technical information. We have a wealth of knowledge available on YouTube, creators documentation, and of course we have a team that helps you no matter when you ask them. So that is also great. Yeah.
Thank you, Ali. One last question before we wrap this session. Again, Ali, this would be to you. It's related to the previous question. The complexity of apps. What is the complexity of apps that can be created using LCAP by citizen developers?
Again, I would say it's limited mostly by your imagination and how much power you have in the company, what you're allowed to do. And of course, the platform itself has limitations. As I said, if you want to develop a game, do not use Creator. Use something else and use Creator in the backend. So first you have to know what we're trying to achieve. As I said like a couple of minutes ago, when companies like SpiceJet or Tesla or Leminar or Aboitis are using Creator, not to build tiny apps here and there, not to build toys, build mission critical applications that reliably and with high performance work on Zoho's data centers, you can do it too. And another important thing is that if you want to compare it with others, we are very, very strict with privacy and protection of personal data and organizational data. So, okay, compatibility and compliance with your policies and procedures is also something that will help you to get the buy-in from whoever is in charge in your company, or if it's yourself, that's even easier.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you once again to everyone who has joined us today. Thank you for making the time. Hope this session has been useful and insightful to you.